play the ukulele well. That doesn't matter to me because it's not about that. I'll tell you a story real quick just to kind of illustrate it. One day I was bored. This is probably about 11 years ago, I think in the month of February, and I just went down to my brother's music store and just picked up a ukulele and said, I'm going to learn to play it. So I did, you know, and I never really got better. I don't know why. I just kept playing the same old mistakes. But 3 years ago, I went to Hawaii. I'm in Kona, and I brought my ukulele. You know, I mean, why wouldn't you bring it to Hawaii, right? And so one day God said, I want you to go down to the pier and start singing. Just sit there and sing. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, people took my picture. That's so funny. But anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're looking, going, look at that poor tourist. She just picked up a ukulele in one of those stores. And I'm learning from my friend Jim there that's ukulele, but I still say it my way. And I'm playing music. And this guy comes by on a bike, and I recognized him as somebody that kind of was with a homeless group, you know, people. And I saw him go by, and the Lord said, start to sing over him. And he didn't know I was singing over him. And I just started singing the spontaneous song about the beauty of man, about how God created mankind in his image. And I just kept singing that. And then I noticed he circled around and he stopped, he parked his bike, and he was listening. And I thought I saw him wipe a tear. And I just kept singing. And then later, I was walking again, and I stopped to talk with another group of homeless people, and I met this guy named Maxwell. And I don't know if that was his real name. It was a sophisticated name for this guy. But anyway, it could have been. But anyway, I met him, and we were chatting, and the guy on the bike came by again. And he said, I really loved what you were singing. And he said it made me cry. And so then we started talking. We're actually friends on Facebook now, 3 years later. Wow. And he did ask me to go buy alcohol for him, and I said no. But I mean, you know, just little things. But the point is, God marked him that day. Yeah. And you know, and so I won't stop. No matter, I don't care how good I play. You're just gonna have to suffer through it. But. This goes with a story, and you're probably wondering, why is she singing this song? You'll get it once I get going. I was at my church in Maine, because I'm from Maine, and live here now 2 years plus, but I was sitting in the back. I think I'd spoken that night, because I had my ukulele with me, and I usually brought it when I spoke. And I'm sitting in this comfy chair, and I started thinking about this song, and I want you to listen to the words of the song carefully, because it's going to lead somewhere. It's beginning of a story, okay? I was singing, upon the Isle of Patmos, a man was cast one day. As he was left alone to die, he began to pray. The Holy Ghost came on him, the Spirit it came down. He began to write about the things he saw. The Revelator's name was John. Talk about John the Revelator, saw Jerusalem coming down. Talking about John the Revelator, and when he looked around, he saw feet like brass, eyes like fire, heard a great voice saying, come up high now. John the Revelator wrote about the city of God. While in the Spirit praying, John turned around to see that the voice he had heard was what it seemed to be. Just like many waters, a great trumpet sound. He began to write about the things he saw. The Revelator wrote it down. Talking about John the Revelator, saw Jerusalem coming down. Talking about John the Revelator, and when he looked around, saw feet like brass, eyes like fire, heard a great voice saying, come up higher now. John the Revelator wrote about the city of God. And so I was singing that song, right? And it's just an old song that my brothers and I used to sing. And all of a sudden, with no forethought whatsoever, I began singing my own song. And this is what's amazing. I said, if it can happen to John, it can happen to me. If it can happen to John, it can happen to me. If it can happen to John, it can happen to me. I can see the city of God. And then I started thinking about other people in the Bible. If it can happen to Ezekiel, it can happen to me. If it can happen to Ezekiel, it can happen to me. If it can happen to Ezekiel, it can happen to me. I can see the river of God. If it can happen to Isaiah, it can happen to me. If it can happen to Isaiah, it can happen to me. If it can happen to Isaiah, it can happen to me. I can see the glory of God. And so that was a few years ago, and I'm going to grab the other mic and come down there because we're going to finish the story. How's that? All right, just tap it, that easy. Okay, what you got to know is I'm a little bit like, you all probably know Henry Fellini, and he says he doesn't prepare a sermon, he prepares a life. And I'm kind of the same way. I'm terrible with notes. I'm terrible about, following an outline. I finished grad school and wrote all my papers with no outline. And then if I was required to write an outline and submit it ahead of time, I'd write the paper, then submit the outline, and my paper was already written. So I just can't do it, And it's just the way my mind works. But I call myself the kitchen junk drawer, and that is that I just keep putting things in it. And everybody knows the kitchen junk drawer is the most important drawer in the house because whatever you need is in there. And I also learned that it's not junk, it's really like a tool belt, right, Jim? My friend Jim and Ellen from Santa Maria too come to hang out with us today. So anyway, I thought of that song the other day because I was driving somewhere and that song came to me because in the morning, maybe a week ago, I woke up and I had been listening to different prophets. Right now is a time where you're just like listening, putting your pulse on what's going on, what's happening. And Dutch Sheets is a great one to listen to. But I was listening to this guy that I really trust and love what he's saying. But I woke up in the morning and I heard myself saying, God, I don't want to just hear what they're saying. I want to hear what they're hearing. Mm-hmm. And and I thought about how important it is to go into that place. And that's when this song about John came to me. And what's interesting about this, I don't even know if I'm going to read you the scriptures or if I'm just going to allude to them. But Revelation 1, John, it says he was in the Spirit on the Lord's Day, right? And it says that, I guess I will read it, it's in verse 10. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's Day, and I heard behind me a loud voice as of a trumpet. And then he began to say, I'm the Alpha and Omega and everything. And then in verse 12 it says, I turned to see the voice that spoke with me. It doesn't say I went to look up in the scroll, what did Isaiah say? What did Elijah say? What did this one say? What did that one say? He said, I turned to see the voice that was speaking to me. And it's not wrong to listen to what the prophets are saying because that's what they're for. But the reality is this. And I had a conversation with a pastor friend of mine back in Maine. She was talking about the importance of being in church and just kept going on, and she was right. But finally one day I said to her, how many hours are we in church on Sunday? She said, a couple in the morning, a couple in the evening. There's 4 hours. what about Bible study? And she goes, well, that's another 2 hours. I said, so that's a total of 6 hours we're in church. How many hours in the day? How many hours are you awake during that day? How many hours in a week? Something's wrong if that's all we're getting. If that's where we're getting our encouragement, is only when we come together, only when we're listening to some teaching or something that somebody else is saying. Because what I'm aiming for is not to have them tell me what to think, but to partner with what they're hearing, because it resonates in here, because I heard it myself. I heard it. And he's inviting us into that place. It's like, God is not a respecter of persons. And I'm telling you, if it can happen to John, it can happen to you. He can take you up into that heavenly realm. He can take you into that place where you can hear his voice. And you know, it wasn't just an event for him. It wasn't just like a great experience for him. I'm sure it wasn't. Revelation's a pretty heavy book. But the reality is, he came back with a message for the church. If you want a message from the church, I wrote this down on a paper somewhere. I'm not even going to go to that paper, but I'm just going to tell you. I woke up this morning, God says, do you want to be an echo, or do you want to be the voice crying in the wilderness? And I don't want to be an echo. Sometimes we do have to echo a little bit, but I'm telling you, it's greater to be the voice crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, because you heard him say it. You saw him face to face. John had a profound revelation of Jesus. He saw him, and he came back with a message for the churches that has lasted. It didn't fall. It didn't fall to the ground. How many prophetic words fall to the ground? You know, because of human error, or just letting go of the promise, and just because we're human, and sometimes we let go of things, and we need to not let go. But the best way to not let go is when you know that you know that you know that you know, because you were there when he said it. You know, I want to be there when he says it. I want to hear him. And you know, other examples is Isaiah. It says, in the year that King Uzziah died, he says, I saw the Lord sitting on the throne high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. And he goes on, and then down in, let's see, I should have underlined the exact verse. Verse 8, he says, also I heard the voice of the Lord saying. You know, you get in the presence of God, and he's going to speak. He's just going to speak. And our job is to have our ears open. And he says, whom shall I send? Who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. So the first thing that happens is when you get in the presence of God, he gives you a message. And the second thing that he does is he sends you. Because he's got a people. It's like I came here today. I didn't come here just because somebody got a good idea. I came here because I came up here with Alan and Naomi, met Delinda, and she doesn't know me at all. And God just dropped it in, and we knew each other in the spirit. You know, and that was what she said this morning. I just knew you in the spirit. And so here I am. And I didn't go to my favorite Bible study. I mean, I did listen to some other people too, because I think it's important to be balanced and listen to a variety of people, but I went directly to the Lord, went into his word, and just got in a place of face-to-face with him. So I just want you, David Kingsley, you know, says, find yourself in the story. See, some of you here, you're saying, yes, this resonates with me, and you're preaching to the choir, Sharon. Well, if I'm preaching to the choir, keep on singing, because you're doing something right, and I'm here to say, if you're running in that direction, keep running, because it's powerful, it has impact. And if you are not in that place, and you're like, I think it was this morning, I saw... I'm part of this other prophetic group, and I saw someone posted something in there, please tell me what the prophets are saying about such and such. And I could hear the angst in that. And there's so many people that are crying out, they're looking, and if you've been in a place where you're saying, this has been a really difficult season, there's both in the, you know, with COVID, with the things going on in the economy, with things going on in the government, and you're and you're looking to all these prophets and prophetic words, like what, you know what I'm going to say? Just calm down. Just calm down, take a deep breath, and get into the presence of God.
Amen.
You want to know what God's saying? Ask Him. Ask Him. Because He will tell you. You know, that was my profile on Facebook the other day. You want to know what God's doing? Ask Him. And I didn't mean that in a snarky way. I really meant that. Because but so many people are anxious. You know, even the messages today that came prophetically about people being in dark places, difficult places. And I get that. In fact, Cindy Brown and I had a wonderful experience the other night. I went over to have dinner. And she says, I got this new worship thing that I found online. She goes, I'll just put it on for 10 minutes. We got lost for an hour and a half praying. But in that place, with my eyes closed, I thought about how Jesus says he hung out with, he was accused of hanging out with tax collectors and sinners, you know, the lowlifes, right? And I thought about all the things in me, the imperfections, the things, the areas where I need to grow, and the places that I still maybe have fear or don't let go of things, or just stuff, you know, just being human. And I said, Jesus, come hang out with me. Just come hang out with me. I mean, think about that. Isn't it fun to hang out with a friend? Mm-hmm. You know, and Jesus wants to come hang out with you. But it's profound because He is the Lord of the universe. Yeah. Wants to hang out with you. Yeah. And when He does, He'll drop things into your spirit, the life-changing things, not only for you, but for the people around you. And then as I sat there with that thought, I began to see Him come, and He says, there's nothing too dark that I will take you and walk. I'm not afraid of your darkness. I will walk you out of it, whatever it is. So that resonated with me, what you were saying, because I feel like there's people that say, well, I can't invite him into this place. It's too much for him. I can't let Jesus see this. Yeah. Yes, you can, because he's not afraid of it, and he's coming with love. He's coming with freedom. He's got the keys. He's got you right by the arm. He's picking you up and gently walking you out into the light. That's what I see. Okay, so going back to looking to see if I had another example. It was Jeremiah, actually. I think it's so hard. I bookmark my things in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. Well, Habakkuk's good too. But anyway, Jeremiah 1, he has this experience where he sees the olive tree, and the Lord says to him, what do you see? And he said, I see an olive branch. And he said, you've seen well. And then the Lord began to speak to him once again. I got to probably look it up because it's Jeremiah. Just bear with me a little bit because sometimes these are, because I do want to read it. Okay. Oh, he says, it's verse 11, Jeremiah 1:11. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Jeremiah, what do you see? And I said, I see a branch of an almond tree. And the Lord said to me, you have seen well, for I am ready to perform my word. And the word of the Lord came a second time, saying, what do you see? And then he begins to go on and share with him the things that he saw. But the important thing that I wanted to point out is sometimes the things that you see don't seem very profound. They might not seem very big. It might just be a thought or an idea when you get in the presence of God. But, you've got to trust that small voice because it could be as little as an almond branch. But you know what? If you see anything in the Spirit, anything at all, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Because if it comes out of the realm of the Spirit, it's huge. Yeah. There's nothing too small. I don't care what it is. I don't know if you ever heard of Ruth Heflin ministry. She was, I had the privilege of meeting her in 1996, and then 20 years later, to the day, I went and lived in Ashland, Virginia at her ministry. She had passed away at that point, and I got to stay there for a few months working. But she said, make a big deal out of everything.
Yeah.
And it's true. You could say, I'm not bragging on me, I'm bragging on Jesus. Make a big deal out of him. Make a big deal of the revelations that he shows you. And some people could say, oh, aren't you full of yourself? No, you're so full of the revelation of God, of what he wants to say, that you can't, it's like it becomes a fire in your bones and you cannot keep silent, So that's kind of where I am today. There's something super powerful in this room that's got me a little bit, maybe, I did have coffee this morning, but I don't think that's it. So just another example is in Habakkuk. He didn't get a message secondhand. He got this message firsthand. In Habakkuk 2, I will stand my watch and set myself on the rampart and watch to see what he will say. Did you know that your eyes in the spirit can hear?
Yeah.
How do you watch to see what you're going to hear?
Yeah.
It's, and the Bible's full of examples. Look to see. Well, yeah, I suppose right now we can't even read lips because of our masks, but we do use that sometimes. We look in people's mouths when we're having trouble hearing what they're saying. But he often says that, watch to see what he will say to me. And here's an interesting line. And what I will answer when I am corrected. No matter what it is, we can be bold, but we also have to be willing to be corrected and to be fine-tuned in our hearing what God's saying. And ask, say, God, what do you want me to do about this? I know you're correcting me. Now what do I do? He said he was looking to see what he would say and how he would answer when he was corrected. How are you going to answer when you're corrected? Are you gonna dig your heels in and say, I was right? Or are you going to blame somebody? Are you going to blame the prophets because you aligned yourself with what they were saying and it didn't happen? What are you going to do? And that's a question between you and the Lord. You got to go to the Lord and say, how do you want me to answer this, God? And even if you've said things and you don't see the evidence of it, are you going to stand by what God said? Or are you going to say, it's hard to ask the questions, God, did I hear you right? But sometimes that's a valid question. Did I hear you right? But if you feel that you've heard him right, do not back up. Don't back up, no matter what. Yeah, no matter what it looks like. And then he says, and the Lord answered me. This is what he said to do. He says, write the vision, make it plain, that he may run who reads it. It doesn't say that you may run. It says that he that reads it will run. So that means that, again, it's not just for you. When you get a message directly from the throne room, you got to know that God's preparing an audience for you. There's a people. In fact, Moses, it didn't say Moses was a great leader, but it wasn't because he was so great. It was because God heard the cry of his people. And so when we get too high and mighty, just remember that the reason you're where you are, the reason I'm where I am right now is because God heard the cry of his people, and he says there's some message that they're yearning to hear, and I'm just going to put it in your mouth, and you're just going to open it and just say it. That's it. It's simple as that. But anyway, here's the thing that I love. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Tell you, don't back up. Don't back up on anything God said. The vision is for an appointed time. Yes. And though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. I don't know about you, but I've got things that I've been believing God for. I have promises that he's made to me. And I have received many prophetic words regarding those things. And these are more personal things for me, and I haven't seen them happen yet, and I'm going, God, what's going on? And then I read things like this, and I remember, yes, God, you are not a man that you would lie, or the son of man that you would change your mind. If you said it, will you not do it? If you spoke it, will you not make it good? So his words are yes and amen. But the important thing in all of this is for you to know yourself. And this isn't a rebuke, this is really an encouragement, saying, because I've had come face to face with it, and I have a wonderful, well, I'm going to say a friend, she's a relative, but a friend who follows every single prophetic word that's out there. And we all know that they don't always line up with each other. They're all speaking all over the place. So we can't rely on that. We've got to be like John. We've got to go up. And the thing is, did you know that the letters that he wrote, the message that he gave to the churches is before he went through the open door? I just noticed that the other day. I always thought he went up through the open door, because after he did all that, and it's not even until like maybe chapter 4 or 5 that it says, and then after all this profound encouragement to the churches of Laodicea and Philadelphia and such and such, it says, and then a door was open in the heavens, and he went into the throne room, and I was like, whoa, that kind of wrecked me, But he was already in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and so there are layers to this. I don't know about you, but I don't want to just get a word from the Lord. Like, as much as Cindy and I had a great time praying, I want to go higher and higher and higher and higher. I just want to keep going. And let's see, I got to see if I wrote down any good tidbits on this paper here, because I don't want to miss anything. But yeah. You want to be in the midst of people who want to hear the voice. You've got to surround yourself with like-minded people and listen to the truth. And also, I was listening to Ruth Heflin this morning, just an old teaching. If you want to hear something, it's pretty old school, but Ruth Heflin, there's all kinds of videos on YouTube. And she was a profound person that really impacted my life. And she said, I don't want to be so weighted down that I lose my ability to fly. Yeah. So there's a lot going on in the world, but it's time to throw off those constraints, throw off the ideas, throw off the preconceived ideas, throw off the fear, throw off the doubt, throw off the confusion, lay aside every weight, every sin and every weight, and run that race. And I'm telling you, you start running, and next thing you know, you're going to take off like an airplane. You'll be flying, because that's where God's taking us. Go for yourself. Think about the hours that you have in your life, and what are you doing? I'm preaching to the choir here. What are you doing with those minutes, those moments, that you're spending, that you're alone? Are you looking to see what everybody else is saying and doing? Or are you asking God? Are you talking to Him? Are you getting in the Word and listening to His voice? And I'll tell you, one of the best vehicles for getting into this place is praying in the Spirit. I know you know that. and worship. And then I like to get up in the morning and not really read my Word first, but pray in the Spirit for a while. And then just just wait, and then open it, and it's like all of a sudden it's like jumping off the page, I don't always do it that way, but that is a way that I like to do that. So I really, really just want to encourage you in those things. I didn't have a whole lot to say, but yeah, just know, if it can happen to John, it can happen to you. If it can happen to Isaiah, it can happen to you. If it can happen to Ezekiel, it can happen to you. He's not a respecter of persons. Know that you can go there. And there's nothing holding you back except yourself. So it's the only thing that gets in the way is when we don't believe we can go there. Believe for profound revelation, and then be bold enough to share that revelation. So I pray this is a blessing to you today, and I think that I'm going to just turn it over. I don't know if Delinda or anybody else has somewhere you want to go with this, because I feel like there's more ministry to happen today. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.